podcast where we dive deep into the world of innovation, business, transformation, and the future of work. I am Trisha, and today we are exploring a topic that's reshaping industries worldwide: digital transformation, automation. From streamlining operations to enhancing sales, automation and AI are revolutionizing the way businesses functions. But with great innovation comes challenges. How do companies integrate these technologies smoothly? What common inefficiencies can automate resolve? And more importantly, what does the future hold for AI driven business models? To answer these questions, we have an exciting conversation lined up with the industry expert, Jacen.
My name is Jacen George. I am currently the owner of Jehova Suri Research and Consultancy. Before I start my business, I've worked in multiple fields. My primary industry was aviation. So I was working in airports and cross airlines. And then from there, moved into the fintech industry, a bit in hospitality. And from there, my primary focus was on supply chain management, where I was looking at operations and workforce management, rescheduling and allocation. While I was working with these past employers, so I started my journey in the early 2000s, where at that time, Dubai airports was just growing and they were taking in a lot of systems and introducing a lot of innovations in the travel sector. At that time, I walked into a lot of interesting systems and solutions, and then I got to coordinate with a lot of IT people, and that actually, grabbed me into those. So I was not only just working with the day-to-day tasks, but then from there on, every day I was challenged with a lot of obstacles and to find ways how we can work easier. And there I got dragged into using IT to simplify my job. So I was being really selfish. Rather than looking at my colleagues, I was looking at focusing on how to simplify my jobs. And then I started getting my hands dirty with Excel and PowerPoint. I used the macros and also that actually dragged me into the field of transformation. Then from there on, I started getting involved with aviation projects where they introduced different types of systems for managing resources and scheduling and also then from the basic Excel, the primary software, then moved up the ladder into more complex systems. And then from there, that's when I got introduced to big data, complex data, and how these data was used for decision making. That point of time, AI and automation was not much of a hype. So it's mostly around, and SaaS was not also much of a hype because at that point of time, it was just standalone softwares that companies were selling and we at the airline industry was buying licenses, installing them, and then, adding on users for it. So from there on, I grew up within the operations environment itself. So I moved from a normal front desk staff, I moved into check-in, then managing the baggages, handling systems and passengers and ticketing and stuff for that. Then moved into the Dubai Airport's strategy department, where then we started using complex data to plan the facilities. Mm-hmm. That again was, because it was so complex and so challenging, you had to keep your mind 24 hours switched on so that, you need to find ways how you can translate the data into more simpler in layman terms so that your clients, your customers, specifically the airlines, understand how best we can use that. From there, then what happened was moved into more contract-based, so that's resource provision outsourcing organization. And from where I was involved with attracting manpower to airlines and the handling agent in Dubai airports. When I was there, then I got a chance to move into the fintech industry. And I was involved with setting up the systems, the operations, and I was managing most of the major airports in the UAE itself. So that was Dubai, Sharjah, Jebel Ali, and the seaports as well. So there, then the systems were required. We needed to keep a balance of a human resource and use technology in a balanced manner. The expense would be more if I keep more manpower. So then what we did was we took the feedback from our teams and then we fed it. We taught the system how it needs to react to different tourist queries. Got an opportunity to move here to the UK to learn more about the systems and how we can use analysis to help make business decisions. So just graduated in Master of Science with one of the top universities here in UK, Kiel University. And then I was looking for an opportunity to work for an employer. But then I said, why am I restricting myself to just working for one particular employer when I can use the skills and the knowledge that I've gained so far from working with top players in the industry and use it for helping small businesses here in the UK. And that's when I actually started off Jacen George Research and Consultancy. At the moment, I'm working with one particular client, and I started with simple equipment facility and equipment storage capacity planning, and I helped them set it up and get it more organized in terms of monitoring and tracking their equipments and all their consumables. Once they saw the project was being successful, then they started, adding more to my plate. And at the moment now, where we stand is we're looking at how we can automate one of their major process where they can manage the administration and the scheduling and the tracking of their end users. So that's basically a short life story of my journey.
Thank you so much, Jacen, for such a detailed introduction. Looks like you've had experience in diverse fields, diverse departments, and a lot of industries. So, like you yourself said that AI was not very prominent, but it's reshaping the industries in these days and will have a bigger impact. And we'll also see a future where AI taking a lot of being prominent in our workspace. So from your experience, what are some of the biggest changes that you have seen, and what challenges do businesses commonly face when integrating automation and AI?
So one of the biggest challenges at the moment is with the businesses, they do not have a clear understanding of what AI can do. I mean, everybody throughout the globe, they have a basic understanding. But business owners, what they do is they appoint people to study the AI more carefully and see what they can implement in the business. But what the business fails, or the business owner fails in what area is, they do not have the right skills. So there's a skills gap. When I say skills gap, it's they don't have the right skills to understand what the business wants and what the AI can offer. So that's one of the challenges there. The other one is when you talk about AI and automation, they think, oh, it's a huge investment. Yes, to the extreme levels, it is a huge investment where when you actually want to introduce robotics and stuff like that, it's huge investment. But then what businesses can do is actually start off with something limited within a small scale and work their way up. At that point of time, what happens is once they have these solutions in place in the small scale, they can start improving the efficiencies. They can start improving on the productivities. That will, again, indirectly or directly help in saving costs. These are the two major challenges that I've actually seen from the industries that I worked in.
And how do you see digital transformation reshaping the traditional industries? And also, what strategies do you think one should take place, or one should ensure that a smooth transition from businesses struggling to integrate new technologies?
Digital transformation has helped in a lot of ways. So earlier, when I say back in the good old days, we used to maintain ledgers and we used to have telexes and all that. But all that is gone now. That's all stopped. Now everything is now moved into SMSs, emails. But that too has even moved further. Like now, if you want to send out an email, you can have an AI do that for you. You can have chat bots that will chat with all the clients that gives up a call, or you can set up your CRMs and ERPs to do majority of the work for us. So what happens is that major chunk of work and time is actually shifted to automation. Now business owners and end users and any users of the technology can have enough time to work on exceptions. Now, at the moment, the way I see it, I haven't seen any solutions that's completely perfect. There are still requirement of the human element for solving exceptions and to set up contingencies. So automation of manual process is one of the perfect example of digital transformation. The other one is because there's a lot of complex and large data out there. These systems actually help us and business owners and people, entrepreneurs, or even end users to make decisions, quick decisions. Sometimes even the system, decides for you. You just have to say whether it's right or wrong. So decision making is one of the key points that solved by AI and automation. And then you have customer experience. When you have the customer sales team, they had to answer the call. So there are KPIs set for them. They need to answer the call. They need to be courteous and all that. That all is now taken away through this digital transformation. You have systems that actually respond to clients and all. And calls are actually filtered down so that the customer service agents are picking and choosing the calls that are really require attention. So again, then what happens is now your customer service your customer engagement is more now. You have more time to service more customers, not like before, less time to service more customers. Now you have enough of time in your hands to service more customers. Then the next best thing that automation is done, and that's something that I've done in the past, is supply chain, where the processes are optimized. So if you see Amazon and all, they've got now those robots that's doing all the manual labor. It's not that they've replaced them completely, the manual labor, but there's a balance. Simple monotonous task has been taken care of by the robots, but on the other hand, you have the human labor where they look at, okay, what they need to do. They need to shift huge cargoes and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that automation and AI is actually brought in. And then new business models. So you have digital marketing in place. You have on-demand solution, even SaaS now. Now, most of the solutions are coming on a subscription, which actually gives businesses a chance to transform their businesses with minimum expense added onto their budget. So they can take step by step or phase in their project plans to see how they can accommodate the transformation properly. So these are some of the very big changes that the industry has actually brought in.
He said, like you mentioned, businesses they consider that implementing these softwares or integrating these softwares in their businesses cost them huge. But if you go through it is not the case. In fact, 80% of the business owners have boosted their customer services and floated with huge profits after implementing CRM software. So how does automation enhance sales and operations? Because that is the major part of any business, making profit or making revenue.
When I said the cost has been huge, it's for the extreme cases where large scale industries are trying to actually bring in, let's say, for example, humanoids to help with the manual lifting and shifting of cargoes and shipments, or you bring in huge complex systems in place to actually control most of your communication flow throughout different departments across the business. But for small businesses, they feel that the expense is too much for them to digest, so they are hesitant on accepting these solutions. And so just going back to my earlier point, where the skills gap, that's where the skills gap comes in. So because there's a huge skills gap between understanding the business vision and what the what the solutions can deliver, because that's a big challenge across the globe, very rarely you'll find people with both those skills. Now, that's where I stepped in, and I managed to work in supply chain and then understand what each solutions can deliver, and how we can tweak the solutions or tailor make the solutions to suit our needs. So that's what I'm currently working on with my current client. They have given me the requirements. I understand what they're coming from, what their goals are, what their end goals are, and what the results should be. And that's what I have translated, and I'm working with my vendors to see how best we can tailor make and deliver what the client wants. Now, this is what every businesses need to look at. They need to use people like us, where both the skills are goes hand in hand with them, understand their vision and understand the IT, the solutions, and then have it. Now, to have that, it's not that expensive. Okay, so small businesses actually need to explore. And the best strategy that they can use for having this delivered is, first they need to have a clear vision. So whoever is running the business, whether it's an CEO, the founder, operations manager, whoever is running that part of the business, they need to have a clear vision in the next X amount of years, or the 5 years, 10 years. Where do they need to see themselves? So from there, they need to work, draw a roadmap backwards, and then start investing in time and energy to see, do they have the right skills to get there, and then maybe have their teams trained and upskilled to understand their process, and then get to know the solutions that are in the market, and then see what they have, what their current system capabilities are. Because I go into discussions with a lot of people. They use standalone systems, probably cloud services, softwares that they download into their systems, and they don't talk to each other. What businesses need to do is, they understand, they have a roadmap, they invest time and energy into identifying what they need to improve, train and upskill their teams, and then do a little bit of research and see the solutions that are in the market. Talk to people like us, because now consultants like us, supply chain consultants, don't sit and say, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this. No. When we are entrusted with a project, we actually go out of our way to identify. Same, it goes for any consultant you see. End of the day, what is it for us? We get to learn what is there in the market. So it's not just knowledge growth, it's skills growth. And we get to see a lot of innovations is happening. And then we need to turn around and simplify our client's life better. Then they need to see what systems they have in place to integrate it with each other. So the systems talk. Because let's say now you have the HR department, you have the operations team. So once the operations team sees that their productivity is increasing, they need more manpower to service those clients or whatever, the systems automatically need to decide and send out a message to the HR teams and say, hey guys, look, it's time to start looking at talents out there in the field, in the market, and start with the hiring process. Now, at the moment, what's happening is, you have the operation manager running the department. He or she does all the manual work. Yeah, they use spreadsheets or they use different systems, but the systems are not talking. End of the day, it's the human nature that they stay there and spend X amount of time deciding, and then they send a message to HR. So this is where businesses have to be more lean. They need to see that there's a lot of waste happening, and see what systems can be integrated, keep that. If not, finish. The timelines of those systems are obsolete now. You don't need those systems. And then what they need to do is, once all these are in place, the task is not done. You need to continuously monitor and optimize. So these are a few strategies that businesses need to look at if they need to implement and simplify their businesses. And yes, even if they have to invest a huge amount of money at the start, I would say you are anyway taking a risk at some point. So why not even look at how risk this investment is, but in the long run, you look at your returns, you look at your ROI. That's how you have to analyze and see whether these solutions are expensive or not.
Rightly put. Since we are talking about AI, and let's talk about human error and future trends as well. So what do you think are the most common human errors in operations, and how does AI help mitigate them?
AI has simplified everybody's life. Earlier, when we used to do manual entries, even when we used to keep track using spreadsheets and all this, there's a lot of data entry mistakes. Even at the moment, like when you send out simple forms, you can say laziness or not, people are not bothered. When you send out simple forms for people to fill, when you ask them to input an address or input their name, if you have those blanks saying first name, last name, people tend to put their first and last name together in the first block itself. Then you have addresses where you tell them, okay, put your address line number 1 or your house number. People tend to, just be ignorant or being lazy. They just put all that. AI has evolved in a great manner where when you, no matter how badly you fill a form, you can actually train the AI to translate it and deliver the outcome the way you want it to see. So if they see there's if the AI detects that the first and last name and middle name is all put together, it can actually split it out. Earlier, what we used to do is we used to copy paste it into a spreadsheet, and then you use that data text and break it into columns. So those are all manual work. But now AI is come to even that minute scale where even the simplest of tasks are simplified even further for us to understand. So data entry mistakes have been reduced. I wouldn't say eliminated completely, but it's still AI is still learning. Data entry mistakes are reduced completely to a very minimal level. Then the other thing is you have documentations, outdated records, instructions that are not clear and all. But I'm not sure if you've used these quill bots.
Right.
So these online Grammarly and all this. I mean, those actually help us correct our grammar. So when you're preparing a thesis or something, you can use that. Even that to the nature of changing people's grammar, the language that they use is now that also is simplified. So AI actually has helped us in a lot of areas. So it depends on how people use it. That's one thing, but it actually helped in a lot of ways. Another example I can give you a more industrial environment is when people are in warehouses during inventory or stock taking, they might miscount, or they might put a barcode entry something wrong. There's a lot of possibilities of errors happening when manual labor is involved. But now all that is taken away because they're using scan guns. So all the IoTs, they've used to scan guns, barcodes. They've got scanner gantries where actually scans the barcodes or the labels on the shipment. Then it even helps airport securities also, or any security in any point of port of exit or entry. You've got the X-rays to identify what are the items inside. That again has actually helped these online shopping stores like Amazon and Shopify and all. That's where you get that, okay, what are the fast moving goods at the moment, or what's the top movers of the day. So these are all helped by AI. Earlier, what used to happen, people used to actually keep track of all this manually, and then they used to rank the items, what is moving out of the warehouse faster, what are goods that are in demand, rank it, and then they used to manually feed it. But now that is all AI. It's all AI magic. Everything's been taught to the system. The solutions are then picking it up from there, and then they are generating the output what we would like to see. Another major human factor errors used to happen in the airports, like when we used to schedule flights and all this for parking stands, or there was a lot of human element involved back in those days. So even when before flights take off, they do trim sheet. So the dispatchers or the pilots, they do a trim sheet to understand the weight and balance of the aircraft. So that's how they decide how the flight should take off and land. So which part of the aircraft is heavy, which part of the aircraft is light. So do they take off in a nose up? There are different complex decisions going in the airports, yeah, and there are high number of chances. Those are gone now. Now what is happening is AI is doing all the decision for you. Capacity planning departments and all, they have systems that are actually deciding for them and saying, okay, this so and so aircraft departing from this place going to this place has this much weight of cargo, and this is the weight of fuel. Even for those high level decisions are now taken care of by AI. And then one of the points I had also brought up earlier was customer engagement. Before we used to have within 3 rings. So there were KPIs for us in our previous businesses where customer service teams had to answer the phone call within 3 rings. All that was mandatory. And because of those tough KPIs, we never had 100% customer satisfaction. Let me put it that way. There was a lot of customers who were angry, send emails to the bosses. The bosses come down, hey, why you don't have this? And then they jump on the supervisors, why don't you put more manpower? And there was a lot of expenses increasing unnecessarily. But now AI has come, it takes over. Then if you go into any let's say you go to your service provider, your telephone service provider, you put in support, and there's a chat. obviously it's a bot, it's a bot, so they give you the common high training questions. It's already taken care of. The simplest of problems have been handled by bots, and the exceptional are taken over. So there's a now the customer service delays have been reduced further, so there's more customer engagement. There's not much of inconsistencies when it comes to dealing with customers.
Reminds me of one of the feature that Zoho CRM has. So they have integrated an AI called Zia. So what it does is, if you have a lead and you just know the first name and the last name of that particular lead, what Zia will do, it will go through Google, it will go through different platforms, and it will fill the rest of the information of that particular lead, be it website, company's name, phone number, email ID. So that saves a lot of time for the sales rep, so that they can focus on prioritizing deals rather than sitting and filling up the information.
When I was exploring for my current client, I was exploring the ideal software to help them with their with setting up, digitally transforming their business. Yeah, I came across Zoho, and when I was exploring further about Zoho, that's when Zenzys came into the picture. And when I contacted Zenzys, the initial project was supposed to take off with them, and then we had a little bit of a roadblock, so that was postponed. Hopefully very soon we are working towards getting Zenzys back on board and working into delivering this final output for my clients using Zoho. At the moment, we are just setting up so we're still at the drawing board at the moment. Once all the plans have been set, timelines have been set, that's when we'll be welcoming Zenzys into this project. So it's going to be a very exciting project for us, because even the clients, they've been in the industry for over 10 years, and more than me, they are more excited because it's their first time trying to automate most of the processes that they have in their business, and automate to the extent where it's just a matter of few clicks and submits, form submissions, and that's it. Not much. So they're getting rid of a lot of paperwork, documentations, again, helping them to keep a track of all the equipment movement, and then they can understand where their trainers are, where how far are they from. So it's basically you have the whole thing on Google Maps for them to monitor the flow of their equipment, their flow of their team members, and eventually help them to also plan their budgets better. So yeah, Zoho. I'm working on Zoho for the first time. So, and that's where I'm excited about working with Zenzys to work on Zoho.
Hopefully you have a wonderful experience there. So let's close the conversation with this last question. We discussed about how important it is for the businesses to not just look for the solutions, but to understand what their goals are, their objectives, and find that tailor-made solution which will help them increase their team's productivity. It will make their business efficient. So how do you think SaaS implementation solutions help businesses scalable? Like, they make them scalable. Scalability also comes in picture along with the profitability of the business or team's productivity and efficiency.
So one of the strategies that I had mentioned earlier was that businesses actually need to explore what the solutions, what systems are available in the market, and what they can provide, what are the limitations, and what are the benefits of having these systems on board. Now, SaaS systems, the best part, what I like about SaaS systems is they provide cloud. It's all now, majority of them are cloud solutions. You can connect to your data from any part of the world. The other thing is the best part in this is the subscription plan that they have. So you have the basic, you have the premium, then you have the silver, gold, platinum, etc. So these actually helps businesses to start off with a basic plan and see if that's the right solution for them. So it's a trial and test error. Have these solutions tested out on their environment, in their ecosystem. If they're not happy with it, they can eventually go for a competitor, or they can see if the current solution can be customized even further to meet their demands. Because not even though the concept of most of the business are same, like you say, supply chain, you have the manufacturing, you have customer service and all this, if the concept is the same, not everybody works the same. So the nature or the behavior of the business is different throughout different industries. So solutions need to be used that are tailor-made to meet their demands, to meet their capacities, to help them with their exceptions. I would say the businesses need to understand what the solutions are providing, and that's how they need to go about it.
Thank you. It was an insightful conversation. We have explored how digital transformation is reshaping industries, the power of automation in boosting sales and operational efficiency. So it was really a big thank you to you for sharing such valuable insights. And one thing is clear, that businesses that embrace automation and AI will have a competitive advantage. And also, transformation isn't just about technology, it's also about right mindset, adaptation, and collaboration with the perfect solution or the tailor-made solution that you would want. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.